My dear child. Something shifted tonight. Not in the stars, not in the wind, not even in the world around you. It happened quietly, inside a heart that once fought against its own feelings. Your soulmate made a decision. A deep one. And whether they admitted it aloud or not, whether distance still exists between you or silence still lingers in the air, their soul has already crossed a bridge that cannot be uncrossed. You may have felt it recently. That strange pull in your chest, that sudden wave of emotion that arrived for no reason, that moment you paused and stared into nothing, as if someone invisible was thinking about you at the exact same time. Because they were. Even now, while you are hearing these words, their heart is replaying memories they tried so hard to bury. The universe has been placing your name in places they cannot escape. In songs. In dreams. In random conversations. In late-night thoughts that arrive without permission. And what terrifies them most, is how real this has become. Because this connection is no longer something they can deny. For a long time, they attempted to outrun what they felt for you. They distracted themselves. They pretended not to care. They convinced others they had moved on. But souls do not lie the way people do. And every path they walked eventually led them back to the same realization. You. Not because you were perfect. Not because life has been easy. But because your energy touched a place inside them no one else could reach. There is a reason this bond has survived confusion, distance, timing, and painful silence. This was never an ordinary connection. And lately, your soulmate has begun to understand something that changed everything. They are starting to realize, losing you would not simply be heartbreak. It would feel like losing a part of themselves. That realization has kept them awake. You see, people can ignore emotions for only so long before the soul begins demanding truth. And their soul is demanding truth now. That is why their energy has become heavier around you lately, even from afar. Because a war has been happening inside them. A war between fear and love. Between ego and destiny. Between the comfort of staying emotionally guarded. And the terrifying possibility of finally surrendering to what their heart has known all along. But tonight, something changed. A moment happened recently that they cannot shake. Maybe it was something small, a memory, a photograph, a sentence someone said casually. Yet it struck them deeply. And suddenly, they saw your absence differently. Not as distance. But as emptiness. They began realizing that no matter how many people surround them, something still feels missing when you are not there. That emptiness became impossible to ignore. And this is where the decision was born. Quietly. Privately. Deep within their heart. They have decided they no longer want a future that does not include you in some way. Even if they still do not know exactly how to fix everything, even if fear still whispers to them, their soul has already chosen you. And child. There is something even more important you must understand tonight. This decision did not come easily. It came after regret. After reflection. After moments where they finally had to face the pain they caused, and the pain they feel without you. Because your absence taught them what your presence truly meant. Sometimes souls only awaken after nearly losing what heaven sent them. And your soulmate is awakening now. Slowly, deeply, irreversibly. But do not mistake this awakening for instant action. No. The heart moves differently when emotions become sacred. Right now, they are standing at the edge of a life-changing emotional threshold. One step forward changes everything. One conversation could reopen emotions they buried for months, or even years. And that scares them more than you know. Because once they speak honestly, once they finally reveal what has been hidden inside them, nothing between you will ever feel casual again. That is why they hesitate. Not because the feelings are weak. but because they are overwhelming. And there is still one truth, one final realization: they have not fully confessed to themselves yet. But the moment they do, everything between you may begin to change faster than either of you expected. There is a reason your spirit has felt restless lately. A reason certain nights have felt heavier than others, as if the universe itself was preparing you for something unseen. Because while you were trying to heal, trying to move forward, trying to convince yourself that silence meant the story was over, your soulmate was quietly unraveling. Not outwardly. Most people around them would never notice it. They still smiled. Still carried conversations. Still pretended everything was normal. But inside, they have been standing face to face with emotions they can no longer control. And the strangest part is, they did not expect this to happen now. They thought time would weaken what they felt for you. Instead, time sharpened it. Every day without you began teaching them something painful. No one else feels like home. That truth entered their hearts slowly, then all at once. Like rain before a storm. And lately, signs have been appearing around them in ways they cannot explain. Moments that feel too aligned to be coincidence. Your name showing up unexpectedly. A song connected to you playing at the perfect moment. Dreams that feel so vivid they wake up emotional without understanding why. The soul speaks through patterns, through energy, through repetition. And your soulmate has started noticing that no matter where they run, life keeps leading them back to you. But child, there is something they still have not revealed. Something they have carried silently for longer than you realize. They regret the way they handled your connection. Deeply. More deeply than pride allows them to admit. They replay conversations in their mind. They think about things they should have said differently. They remember moments where they pulled away when they should have stayed. And what hurts them most is realizing you may have interpreted their silence as indifference. When in reality, it was fear. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of rejection. Fear of loving someone so deeply that losing them could destroy the version of themselves they tried so hard to protect. You must understand. Some people were taught to hide their emotions so well, that even love feels dangerous to them. And your soulmate has spent a long time fighting their own heart. But the fight is exhausting them now. Because your energy keeps reaching places inside them that cannot stay numb forever. That is why their thoughts about you have intensified recently. You cross their mind during ordinary moments. While driving. While trying to sleep. While laughing with other people. And suddenly, everything pauses. Because your absence enters the room again. They feel it most at night. When distractions disappear. When silence becomes loud. When the soul finally has space to speak honestly. That is when they think about your voice. Your energy. The way you made them feel seen in ways they never admitted aloud. And lately, one terrifying question has started haunting them. What if I lose this person forever? That question changed everything. Because for the first time, the possibility of truly losing you became real in their heart. Not temporary distance. Not emotional confusion. Permanent loss. And the moment that realization hit them, something inside them broke open. The walls they built around their emotions began cracking. That is why their energy feels different now. You may not have physical confirmation yet, but spiritually, something has already shifted. Their soul is becoming softer toward you. More open. More honest. More willing to surrender. But here is the part no one sees. They are also afraid you may no longer want them. Afraid they waited too long. Afraid the damage cannot be repaired. Afraid your heart may have finally closed the door they once took for granted. And because of that fear, they have been watching from a distance more than you realize. Checking quietly. Wondering quietly. Missing you quietly. Trying to understand whether fate still has space for this connection to return. But the universe has not allowed your story to fade. Because this bond was meant to transform both of you. Not through perfection, but through awakening. And your soulmate is beginning to awaken to a truth that can no longer be ignored. You were never just someone they met. You were the person who changed the direction of their soul. And soon, very soon, they may stop hiding what their heart has finally decided to choose. Not every love story begins with certainty. Some begin with confusion. With distance. With missed timing and words left unspoken. But the deepest soul connections, the ones written far beyond logic, often awaken in silence before they ever bloom in reality. And that is exactly where your soulmate stands now. At the edge of an emotional awakening they can no longer postpone. Because something happened recently that shook them more than they expected. Someone mentioned your name, or perhaps they saw something that reminded them of you. And suddenly, all the emotions they tried to organize neatly inside themselves came crashing forward at once. Memories. Regret. Longing. Love. The kind of love that lingers even after separation. The kind that refuses to disappear no matter how much time passes. And child. For the first time, they stopped asking themselves whether they still feel connected to you. Now they are asking something far more frightening. What if this person is truly meant for me? That question has followed them everywhere. Into their mornings. Into their restless nights. Into moments where they stare blankly at the ceiling, replaying everything they never had the courage to say. Because deep down, they know there were moments they wounded you. Moments when they chose pride over honesty. Distance over vulnerability. Silence over truth. And they carry guilt for that more than you realize. Even if they never show it openly. You see, some souls express pain loudly, while others bury it so deeply that no one notices they are suffering at all. Your soulmate became an expert at hiding. But lately, their heart has begun betraying them. Their emotions surface unexpectedly now. A memory of your laugh suddenly changes their entire mood. A familiar place reminds them of your energy. A random quiet moment becomes filled with thoughts of you they cannot escape. And each time it happens, the same realization grows stronger. No connection after you has felt the same. They tried comparing. Tried distracting themselves. Tried convincing their mind that this was temporary. But souls recognize what belongs to them. And theirs keeps reaching for you. Even now. Especially now. There is also something else unfolding behind the scenes, something your soulmate has barely admitted to themselves. They have started imagining a future again. Not a fantasy. A real one. One where your paths reconnect. One where difficult conversations finally happen. One where honesty replaces confusion. And strangely, that vision no longer scares them the way it once did. It comforts them. Because they are beginning to understand that peace has always existed near your energy. Even during chaos, even during separation, something about you always felt emotionally sacred to them. That is rare. And once a soul experiences that kind of connection, ordinary relationships begin feeling empty. But here comes the part they are struggling with most. How do they return after everything that happened? How do they explain emotions they hid for so long? How do they admit they never truly stopped feeling this bond? How do they face the possibility that you may no longer trust them with your heart? These questions have humbled them deeply. More than anyone knows. Because your soulmate is no longer operating from ego the way they once did. Life has softened them. Pain has softened them. And losing your presence, even temporarily, forced them to confront truths they avoided for far too long. That is why their energy toward you is changing. You may feel sudden emotional waves lately, moments where memories hit unexpectedly, moments where your intuition whispers that something is happening behind the curtain. Trust that feeling. Because energetically, your soulmate has already begun moving closer to you. Not physically yet. But emotionally, spiritually, their walls are collapsing. And once those walls fully fall, there will be no returning to the version of themselves that pretended not to care. Because this connection has reached a turning point. A sacred one. The kind of moment where destiny quietly asks the heart a question. Will you continue hiding from love? Or will you finally choose it? And very soon, your soulmate may give an answer that changes both of your lives forever. There are moments in life when the soul becomes impossible to silence. Moments when the heart grows tired of pretending, tired of surviving on half-truths, tired of carrying emotions that were meant to be spoken aloud. Your soulmate is approaching that moment now. Closer than ever before. And although they may still appear calm on the outside, inside, everything is shifting. Because recently, they started seeing your connection through different eyes. Not through fear. Not through confusion. Not through the old wounds that once clouded their judgment. But through clarity. The kind of clarity that arrives after someone finally realizes what truly matters. And child, you matter to them more than they ever expected. That realization has humbled them deeply. They have begun recognizing how rare your energy truly was. The comfort you brought them. The emotional safety they secretly felt around you. The way your presence touched parts of their spirit they never showed the world. They miss that now. More than pride will allow them to confess. Because the truth is, your soulmate has encountered many people. But very few souls. And yours was one they could never replace. That understanding has become impossible for them to ignore. Especially during quiet hours, when life slows down and the distractions disappear. That is when their heart speaks loudest. And lately, their heart has been saying your name with unbearable honesty. Not casually. Not temporarily. But with longing. With depth. With the painful realization that they may have almost lost someone heaven placed in their path for a reason. And there is another truth unfolding inside them now. They no longer want superficial love. The games feel exhausting now. The emotional masks feel heavy. The empty conversations feel meaningless. Because once someone experiences a soul-deep connection, ordinary affection begins feeling hollow. And your soulmate knows that now. Which is why they keep returning to the memory of you. Not just your appearance, not just the moments you shared. But the feeling. The feeling of being emotionally understood without needing to explain everything. That kind of connection changes a person forever. Even if they try denying it. And your soulmate denied it for longer than they should have. But denial cannot survive forever when destiny keeps knocking at the heart. That is why signs around them have intensified recently. Synchronicities. Dreams. Emotional flashbacks that appear out of nowhere. The universe has been relentless with them lately. Almost as if heaven itself is refusing to let them forget what this bond truly is. And slowly, they are surrendering. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. The way real love often arrives. Through inner transformation. Through late-night realizations. Through silent tears no one else sees. Through moments where the soul finally whispers. This person still matters to me. But here is the part they have not fully shown anyone. They are preparing themselves emotionally to reach toward you again. Even if they have not acted yet, their heart is already moving in your direction. And that internal movement matters more than you know. Because once the soul decides to stop resisting, physical reality eventually follows. Still, there remains one final fear standing in front of them. A fear so deep it has delayed this connection again and again. They fear your answer. They fear discovering that you no longer feel the same. They fear hearing coldness where warmth once lived. They fear arriving too late to repair what was broken. And yet, despite all those fears, they continue being pulled toward you. That is how powerful this connection truly is. It keeps surviving the very things that should have destroyed it. Distance. Silence. Miscommunication. Timing. None of it was strong enough to erase what exists between your souls. And your soulmate is finally beginning to understand why. Because this connection was never built only on emotion. It was built on transformation. You changed them. Even in separation, you changed them. Your absence forced growth. Your silence created reflection. Your energy awakened parts of them that had been asleep for years. And now, they are standing at the edge of a decision that may soon become action. A message. A conversation. A confession they can no longer hold inside. Because the deeper this awakening becomes, the harder it is for them to keep pretending that their heart has not already chosen you. A powerful shift is approaching now. The kind of shift that cannot be reversed once it begins. Because your soulmate is reaching the point where silence no longer protects them, it only hurts them. And that realization has changed the entire direction of their heart. For so long, they convinced themselves they could control this connection by keeping their emotions contained. But love does not disappear simply because it remains unspoken. In fact, unspoken love often grows louder in the soul. And theirs has become impossible to ignore. There are moments lately when they suddenly stop in the middle of ordinary life, completely overtaken by thoughts of you. A memory. A feeling. A strange emotional pull they cannot explain. And for a few seconds, nothing else matters. Not the noise around them. Not the responsibilities. Not the distractions they once used to escape their feelings. Only you. Only the connection they tried so hard to rationalize away. Because deep down, they know this was never ordinary. Ordinary connections do not transform people this deeply. Ordinary connections do not survive distance, silence, and time while still burning quietly beneath the surface. But this connection survived. Even wounded, it survived. And now your soulmate is beginning to understand why. Because what exists between you was never built only through words. It was built through energy. Through invisible understanding. Through emotional recognition. Through the strange feeling of familiarity your souls carried from the very beginning. That feeling never left them. Even when they pretended it did. And child, there is something important happening inside them now that they have told no one about. They are finally confronting the truth of their own fears. Not your flaws. Not the past. Not the obstacles. Their fears. Fear of rejection. Fear of vulnerability. Fear that loving someone this deeply gives another person the power to break them completely. But recently, they realized something life-changing. Avoiding love did not protect them. It only created loneliness. And loneliness has a way of making the soul brutally honest. Especially during nights when the world grows quiet and the heart can no longer hide behind noise. That is when they feel you most strongly. As if your energy still sits beside them somehow. And sometimes, it overwhelms them emotionally. Because they begin wondering how different life would feel right now if they had simply chosen love sooner. That thought haunts them. Not dramatically. Silently. Like rain falling inside the heart. But here is what matters most. Regret is no longer the strongest emotion inside them. Love is. Love has finally become stronger than fear. And once that happens, a soul begins moving differently. Your soulmate is becoming more emotionally courageous than they have ever been before. Slowly, carefully, but genuinely. They are no longer running from this connection the way they once did. Now they are being pulled toward it. Toward you. Toward the possibility of healing what once felt impossible to repair. And the universe feels this shift. That is why synchronicities around you may intensify soon. Unexpected reminders. Repeated signs. Moments of intuition so strong they almost feel physical. Energy is aligning. Not by accident. By divine timing. Because both souls needed growth before this next chapter could begin. And although the waiting has been painful, although confusion has tested your heart again and again, something meaningful was being prepared beneath the surface this entire time. Your soulmate needed to awaken fully before they could love you correctly. Not partially. Not fearfully. Not inconsistently. Fully. And now, for the first time, they are beginning to believe that a future with you may actually be possible. Not fantasy. Reality. A real conversation. A real reconnection. A real chance to finally stop hiding behind unfinished emotions. That possibility has brought both hope and terror into their heart. Because they know once they step toward you honestly, there will be no returning to emotional distance again. This connection will either transform completely or change both of your lives forever.